Sans gavel. I'm calling the legislative session of Swarthmore Borough Council, Monday, June 11, 2018, to order. First issue of business is roll call. I see all members of council are present, with the exception of Michael Carey. And he's not going to give you a vote. He's in Chicago. Right. And our mayor, Tim Carney, is here, Borough Solicitor Bob Scott, and I see Borough Manager Jane Billings walking in at this very moment. We have one opportunity for members of the public to address comments to council in the legislative session, and that's right now. So if there's anyone from the public who would like to address council, please step up to the lectern, state your name and your address. Any members of the public care to address council? There being no public comment, I'm going to call a public comment period to a close. The first item for consideration on tonight's agenda is consideration of council meeting minutes of May 14th, 2018 and June 4th, 2018. I believe everyone has received a copy of those minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion, corrections, or amendments that anyone wants to make to either of those sets of minutes? If not, I'll have a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Thank you. I have one other item for tonight's meeting, and that is resolution number 218-04, which is the resolution closing out Community Conservation Partnerships Grant Project, BRC TAG 19139. We discussed this last week. This is the Corpos project that we talked about, the multi-municipal recreation parks and open space plan for the Township of Nether Providence and the boroughs of Swarthmore, Rutledge, and Rose Valley. Can I have a motion to approve or adopt that resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion of that resolution? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Lauren.
Okay, great. Environment Committee, we have a couple things. One is that at the last Environment Committee meeting, we had a very nice, robust group of EAC members who were there to listen to the new recycling dilemmas, which we'll be thinking about for the next couple of months probably. And it really looks like we'll be recommending an alternating system of, and I'm going to do sort of the nutshell, and then Jane is going to get into the nitty-gritty, right?
Sure, no problem.
Probably an alternating schedule of paper and cardboard one week, and then mixed recycling the other week, and alternating back and forth. And the reasons are because as we spoke about earlier, China has raised the rate for recycling up astronomically, and they don't want our stuff anymore. And but there seem to be very few options for where to send recycling. So, in short, B&L, which is our recycling company, is still going to use companies in China, and we're going to have to sort of contribute more money to that. And so another thing that's kind of tricky is that glass has basically no market right now, and it's very heavy, and so the recyclers charge for tonnage, and so we pay a lot. We are paying a lot, but it'll be even more when the rate change happens to recycle glass. And 23% currently of our recycling is glass. It's the heaviest thing, and a lot of that doesn't even get recycled because, as I said, there's virtually no market right now. So the other thing we could do is say, all right, we're not going to recycle glass, and then we would pay less for our recycling, but then we'd have to throw the glass in the trash, and they will charge about half the price that the recyclers charge, and that's just to have it thrown out. So I mean, it's heavy and it costs a lot to get rid of no matter what we do. So you know, the igloo things at the Swarthmore Recycling Center are emptied by the county, and they're currently, doing that. And where they take that, I'm not sure, but we can't put all our glass there, right? So we're kind of in a period right now, I think, of looking at the options and maybe looking beyond answers that BNL gives us and local people. We want to see, is there a place for glass that we don't know about? And I was just talking to Jane today, and I know the EAC supports the idea of doing the alternating weeks, and we can get money for paper and cardboard through a company called Newman, and they turn it into it has to be something more than shirt collars. How many shirt collars do you need? But it is a local company that recycles paper and cardboard very efficiently. We do get some money for that. So this is our problem right now, and one that a lot of people are facing. There's an article in the New York Times. There's all kinds of press out there about the change in rates. So do you want to take it from here, Jane?
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. It's clear that the single stream or commingled recycling is facing some severe problems because the mix is so mixed that it is contaminated. We know that foreign markets, mostly China, are not taking it. That's definitely problematic, and this caused the price to go up because the local companies that sort the recycling and send it to China have to do a much better job. They're investing in new equipment. They need more person power. So that's why the cost when you send a mixed bag to Republic, it used to be called Blue Mountain, the $3 cost is now $65 a ton and expected to go up quite a bit higher, possibly even to $100 a ton. Some material is more valuable than others, and because we have a relationship with Newman Paper, which already, by the way, is the one that's the big dumpster at the recycling center, that is a material that does not cost $65 a ton. In fact, Newman pays us a small amount of money for that paper, and also collects it for us. So we encourage people as the EAC, and I think a few steps, I had a call from a few steps, and I think they're here, and they're also working on recycling, so I said we need to coordinate our efforts and make sure we're sending out one message, even though, as Lauren said, we don't know exactly what that message is yet. But in the meantime, the dumpster at the recycling center can be used for way more than cardboard. I think maybe that's not a message that we've gotten out, so we'll be getting that message out tomorrow. We actually just got the list of acceptable materials from United States Recycling, which is Newman, and it includes pizza boxes. Yay! I know it's big, not with pizza in them, just pizza boxes, Post-it notes, telephone books, office waste paper, magazines, newspaper, junk mail, hard and soft cover books. So it's a very extensive mix. And that's the same mix that when we go to the curbside, that's just a paper day, you'll be able to put that out. So I'm kind of excited about that because these are items that people, maybe some of them thought they couldn't recycle. They were just throwing them in the mixed bin before and hoping they were being recycled. So I think, as Lauren said, we just want to do a little bit more investigation, again, with the two groups to make, and we have representatives from both actually here today, to make sure that what goes in that blue bin on the other days, the non-paper days, are the right mix. If we can send them places where they are being recycled, if we can find a place for glass, we'll do that. We just think we need a little bit more time. We don't want to train people to have to be trained twice. So for now, everything's exactly the same as we work with those groups to figure out what kind of system we should go to. encourage people really to use the recycling center for their cardboard and all other paper, because we'll get paid for every scrap. And not have to put it in the waste stream. And paper makes up about 42% of the borough's mix. And we recycled in 2017 485 tons of material. So we would be taking out of and recycling almost 204 tons of material, which would save $13,000 a year, and in fact more, because we would be paid for that. Most of it's now just going into it's all just going into not going into the paper dumpster.
So we don't have a resolution or a motion or anything. It's just continuing the conversation. I'm going to be writing an article with Corey Ullman at some point. I'm not sure, when that'll be, but.
And I'm having a meeting with the Few Steps folks later this week. When is it? Wednesday.
2:30.
At 2:30? We might have to change that, but we will have a meeting soon. And maybe we can figure out how to coordinate the efforts.
Yeah. So are there any comments or questions?
I'm curious.
Yeah, we only have one mic.
I'm curious if you thought at all about with the alternate day scheduling, would it truly be would it be every other week, or would it be that like second, fourth, first, third thing that used to happen?
I think it would be every other week, and we would post a year-long schedule, because that does get super confusing when you have a fifth week.
Right.
Also would be great, we actually have a grant in right now to DEP for some extra recycling bins. Because remember I said that we were running low on the blue one, so I actually have a call into DEP if we could change that request. We all thought what would be great would be to get a different color bin, maybe a yellow bin that was square for the paper to sort of help initiate the program.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it would be the every other week.
I guess also, in the meantime, with respect to this paper recycling issue, is there any, I hate to even suggest it, could we like do a postcard mailing or something to get the word out to people now that they really can be bringing all of that paper to the recycling facility, and that it would, be good for the environment and the borough if they wanted to do that instead of just putting it all out on the curb until this gets sorted out?
I mean, we could. Of course we could.
I know that is more paper.
I know it's a lot of paper.
I can't believe I'm suggesting.
Take this to the recycling center.
Right.
We talked about that, because when I talked to people from a Few Steps, it was a little disheartening to know that in spite of the fact that we put something in the Swarthmore and put something on our website and on Facebook, clearly even they didn't have the message, and they're sort of paying attention. So we should talk about it. I kind of like to do it once when the whole program is set, but if that's going to take a while we figure out about this glass versus plastic versus aluminum in the commingled bin, we could certainly do that.
Thanks. Okay, I do have one more thing which just came up kind of last minute. It's Annie, do you want to introduce it? And while she's coming up, this is Annie Fox of the EAC, and it's about the pipeline. Yeah, right at the microphone. It's about the pipeline, and the EAC has requested that the borough write a letter to the PUC about the pipeline with concerns about it. There have been various problems with both pipelines, Mariner 1 and 2, and I'll let Annie talk about it. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Well, there's actually been a lot of developments just in the past couple weeks. Some of you may have heard that the Mariner East 2 was struck by a contractor for Aqua when they were digging, because Sunoco misreported exactly the depth of the pipeline by a couple feet. And luckily, it's not in operation yet, but it sort of highlights some of the dangers. And that was fairly close to Glenwood Elementary. And then Senator Dinniman brought a case before the Public Utility Commission for asking for an interim order to stop the construction along a section of the Mariner East 2 because of public safety concerns. In West Whiteland, they are having sinkholes opening up, water contamination issues, and a lot of the things we've been hearing about. And the administrative judge ordered a shutdown of Mariner East 1 and a halt to the construction, an urgent halt to the construction for Mariner East 2. And she cited that for Mariner East 1, there have been over 50 violations that DEP has cited in the past year. There have been 3 leaks, none of which were properly reported or handled by Sunoco. For Mariner East 2, they don't have any emergency response plans. They haven't been conducting the proper geophysical and geotechnical studies. And so and there are a number of other issues. And so she issued her order, but it's up for review by the PUC on the 14th. And right now there's a public comment period. Sunoco's been getting several municipalities to come out in their favor with comments. And it would be good for more townships to come out with just a public comment in support of having this halt until they can show that they're following the public safety recommendations of the administrative judge. Also, while we're not in the immediate high danger zone, if there is a leak, our citizens are regularly traveling in and out of that area, so our citizens are in danger. So I drafted a proposed letter to be a public comment from the Borough Council. I think you all have a copy now. And we ask that you consider submitting that as a public comment. This is something that did just come up, and so I apologize for having to ask for such a fast turnaround.
And you said the deadline's Thursday.
That is when they're making their decision,
Yeah.
so it would be good if we could submit something within the next couple of days.
Do people need more time to read it?
Yes.
You okay?
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
sorry, it just is very time sensitive.
If I could just ask a question, it seems, again, I appreciate more time to read it myself, but it seems as if the letter is asking the Public Utility Commission, as you put it in the very first sentence, to uphold the suspension
Yes, which was
of further construction on the pipeline until the conditions specified in the administrative law judge's order are met. Is that right?
yes.
So when those conditions are met, if they're ever met, then the construction will continue.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is, she is a PUC judge.
Right.
But they're
But-
reviewing her order.
Her decision can be appealed to the commission.
Yes.
Right. Which is what's happening right now.
Yes. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
So, do you need a couple more minutes to read it? It's very time sensitive.
So Lauren, I think,
Yeah.
I guess what, because this is very time sensitive.
Right, right.
I guess what you're going to be asking for is for council to approve
Yes.
a letter, more or less,
Yes.
essentially along the lines of
Essentially,
this
yes.
draft that we have.
So I'll just, I'm making a motion that we approve this letter. Is there any discussion?
Well, we need to have a second.
Is it correct to capitalize order?
Well, let's do it by,
I'll second.
thank you, Ross. Okay, now let's have discussion.
We should find out who's going to sign it and who it's going to go to.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to the secretary of the PUC,
Okay.
which makes sense. And then the question is who would sign it? I mean, I could sign it on behalf of council.
Sounds good, yeah.
If people want to send a letter or something like it, we could do it that way.
So we're still on the discussion period. The motion has been made and seconded.
Right.
I just have a question about the last paragraph. It seems like the whole letter is talking about honoring the recommendations of Judge Barnes' order, but then it says, we further hope the PUC will require, and then it lists a few things. Is that then in addition to holding the order?
That was something that was mentioned in other public comments from other groups, including citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We don't have to necessarily include that, but the common sense public safety recommendations, it makes sense to have it along the entire pipeline, which is why we chose to include it.
I have a comment. Seeing as how we're just seeing it now for the first time, and I'm sure it is summarizing accurately the judge's order, before I would want to sign anything like this, I'd like to read what the judge wrote myself, because we quote a lot in here from the judge's order. So I feel a little bit not comfortable signing something that I just got this evening and I haven't been able to review what the judge wrote in the opinion myself.
Can we say pending review of the judge's actual order or something like that? And unless there are any objections to that.
It is a 24-page order, but I do have electronic copies that I could send out tonight even.
I guess my comment along those lines are kind of with respect to that paragraph and some of the other examples given in here. Maybe if we could remove some of that content and just make a recommendation to support the judge's order without quoting and giving examples, would that be, so, just make it a much briefer, just kind of we support this action without all of the extra content?
Does the borough solicitor have an opinion about any of this?
Not really. I mean, it's a matter of kind of, council's discretion and preference. I mean, everybody's raising good points. I don't think there's anything that I could add to your discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So where are we with this? Any other comments?
Okay, I'll make a comment. So I will suggest that we keep the first paragraph, that we keep the first sentence of the second paragraph, and that we eliminate the rest of it until you get to the first sentence of the last paragraph, and we keep the first sentence of the last paragraph and limit it to that. So it would then say, we urge the PUC to uphold the suspension until the order is satisfied. The judge's relief is crucial. And then second paragraph, the Borough Council previously expressed concern about this. And then you flip over to the next page. Thus, we urge the PUC to honor the recommendations of the order to ensure integrity and safety of the project. Sincerely. It's a stripped down version. That's a suggestion.
I might just offer adding back in the third paragraph, the second line, Swarthmore is close enough in the immediate impact that our residents are within the danger.
Sure.
Just, to kind of verify why we're weighing in. Yeah.
So does that still maintain the integrity of the letter, right, Annie? It just is more compact.
I believe so.
Okay.
It's hard for me to mentally
Oh, yeah.
But I believe so. Most of the, just to let you know, the 15 notices of violation and other information actually came from the judge's order too. But
Right,
yes,
and
I think that does work.
Yeah, and I think the issue is, at least some members of council would like to read the order first to make, this is just,
Understandable.
it's, right. So, so the stripped down version, I think, kind of preserves the basic message.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the order in 2017 or 2018?
2018.
Okay, so that's in the first paragraph, that needs to be corrected to 2018.
Thank you for catching that.
So that's, so that would be, so you'd be left with this,
Okay.
and then just the first sentence here.
So if we send out like a, are we ready to do, is everyone following how we shortened it? Okay, are we still on the same motion or, Tim?
We only have one mic.
That's okay. If it pleases council, this is a letter that, as the mayor, I would like to sign as well. Just because it's, public safety of the borough is under my purview, and this is an issue that I've, in other phases of my life, this time I'm spending an awful lot of time on, and I think it's important and a good thing to do.
Sure.
So it could be jointly signed by you and Dave Cregan on behalf of council. Okay. So do I need to make another motion?
Why don't I read it as I understand it?
Thank you, yeah.
And then you could say, I move to approve that.
Okay.
Okay? So, I think I got Ross's changes, but if you can just kind of follow along, Ross, sure. We write to strongly urge the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission to uphold the suspension of Sunoco's Mariner East project as directed by Administrative Law Judge Elizabeth Barnes in the above referenced matter until the conditions of her May 22, 2018 order are satisfied. The judge's grant of interim emergency relief is crucial to protecting public health and safety. The Swarthmore Borough Council previously expressed concerns regarding the safety of the Mariner 2 pipeline to the Department of Environmental Protection when it passed Resolution of Concern 2016-14. Swarthmore is close enough to the immediate impact zone with potential leaks that a sizable percentage of our residents are within it on a regular basis in the course of their normal activities. Thus, we urge the PUC to honor the recommendations within Judge Barnes' order to ensure the structural integrity and safety of the pipeline project, particularly with regard to the geophysical and geotechnical studies. Sincerely.
Okay, and jointly signed by Tim Carney and as mayor and David Cregan representing council.
And I usually sign these things respectfully, because it's a code. right?
Respectfully, okay, respectfully.
I would add that.
I think that's appropriate.
So moved, did you say?
So moved, yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
So, was that vote, just to clarify, the first vote was to discuss the original matter?
Right.
Are you voting?
We're voting
Just
on-
ask for new people.
We're voting on
The changes.
on the changes that, as read by
So that was
Bob.
the
So
motion.
there's an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, it's an amendment essentially.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
And so, Jane, could you prepare that letter and throw a letterhead for my signature and Mayor Carney's signature?
Okay.
Only because I don't have any borough letterheads.
No, it's not that. We have a few personnel issues. We will get it done. When you're going to come by in the morning? We'll do it tonight. We'll just get it done tonight, put it in the boxes, hope maybe even before you go.
Okay.
But you haven't given me this, you haven't sent it to us, right?
It was just in paper just now.
Right, can you send us an electronic version? It doesn't have to be edited, but it would be helpful to get an electronic version.
You sent it to me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send it.
Okay,
Yeah.
If
Send it
anyone
now.
wants, I can send you the judge's order as well, if anyone wants to see it. I'll read it.
okay.
Will it get there in time, or does this need to be emailed or sent electronically?
I can't answer that, I don't know. What do you want to do?
It should be, yeah.
Leanne Kruger-Granicki's letter, she faxed it, but I have to verify the proper procedures, or I can pass that along. But I believe faxing it would probably be okay.
Yeah, the cutoff Thursday. And I just wanted to add for your committee, I would love to see something like this also sent to Delaware County, because I know that they've had a couple votes on the Mariner, and I think we could also weigh in on.
Delaware
on
County
the-
Council?
Delaware County Council, yeah.
If you copy them.
Yeah, or maybe send them their own letter, since they've been trying to get a safety study done and, it's nice to weigh in on that as well.
Well, let's just get this one out first. Thank you very much.
So, and if you can provide us with the fax number or an email address, we can send it as an attachment.
Okay, yes. It also, the fax cover sheet from Leanne. You
I have
a
it
copy
right
of.
here. You pass that to Jane.
But I will verify early tomorrow if there is any other step that would be preferable.
Okay, thank you. That's all from environment.
Thank you, Lauren. So, Michael's not here this evening. Who's going to report for the Finance Committee? You, Ross? Great. Go for it.
So on behalf of the Finance Committee, Sarah, and myself and Michael, Michael's in Japan, and he basically gave me the report, which I'll send along, which is, the first thing we need to do is, we had the TEFRA hearing last week. We have a resolution on that. That's 2018-03, the college bond issue. And so I'm going to make a motion on that, but before I do that, if anybody has any additional questions. This is to enable the college to have a bond issue to finance.
Let's make the motion in a second, and then we'll have discussion.
Okay, so I move to approve Resolution 2018-03, the college bond issuance resolution.
Second.
All right, now, any more discussion?
Just if anybody has any questions, we went over it in great detail.
We did, yeah. we did.
Just to clarify, we're actually, what we're doing is giving the SBA the authority to move forward on this.
Correct. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, there being no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Before we do that, I'll just restate what I said last week because my wife is on the faculty of Swarthmore College, although I don't see any actual conflict of interest. In the interest of avoiding even the appearance of a conflict, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. That being said, all in favor of adopting resolution number 218-3, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, the resolution is adopted.
Great. So next on the financial report, Mike reported that expenses are running a bit ahead of they were last year, but not really, because last year we made some early payments to the fire department. So this year, we're kind of making those payments at the correct time this year. And then the other main thing is that we made a decision as council to make two contributions to the minimum municipal obligation to the pension plans. And we did that because if you make one contribution during a year, you're kind of stuck with the stocks that you get on that date. If you make two, you kind of average it out and you do a little bit better. So it's making the same contribution, but divided and doing two. So if you take those into account, we're really the same place. We're tracking as expected for last year. The general fund balance is $2,216,302 as of May 31st. Any questions about that? Okay. I would like to make a motion to ratify the transactions for the payments for loans outstanding to Wells Fargo. So the motion is a motion to approve transactions to ratify totaling $38,718.16. So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, and finally, bills to pay. I will make a motion to approve the bills for the month, which total $133,390.39. Those are our bills for the month. So I make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, did I need to, oh, yeah, we got the second.
The ayes have it. Thanks, Ross.
Okay, great. And then Mike says there's not going to be a finance committee meeting in May. That's it?
Thank you. Sarah, General Government.
So we're going to start with the social media policy, the social media policy standards and procedures. We went over it at the last meeting, so I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? This is it's not an ordinance, it's not a resolution, but it will be an official policy of the borough, which will become part of the borough's policies. So is there any discussion? We talked quite a bit about it last week, but now's the time.
One comment.
Yes.
You all know I took the PSAB State Association course on records and all of that, and the Open Records Office strongly recommended that municipalities adopt such a policy, so we're doing something that they are strongly recommending.
Great, thanks, Ross. Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor of adopting the social media use policy, standards and procedures, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So the next thing is about the reviewing the letter to the Delaware County Board of Elections. And so, as I mentioned at last week's meeting, we were approached by the registrar at Swarthmore College, Martin Warner, as well as several students about writing a letter to request a change to the college student voter registration process. So in committee, we listened to Mr. Warner and students, and there was a judge of elections was there as well. And we looked through voting numbers and statistics, and we discussed different options over the course of a couple different meetings, a couple different months. And Jane reached out to someone at the Board of Elections to talk about other things, but she was told that we can send a letter in support of that, and that the county actually does want to hear from the borough about how a change could impact us. So the committee decided on certain points, and I took a stab at writing a letter for it, and I changed it a couple times. And so I don't know, I sent the latest version to you all. Should I read that here, or how do you want to proceed with discussion for that?
It's pretty short, if you want to read it. On the other hand, we have received it, so.
What's appropriate to do?
This is the most recent email that we got from you, and I think the latest version, that was dated Thursday, June 7th, is that right?
Right.
Did everyone get that email with that version? Probably not necessary to read it.
Yes, I think that just the general
Okay.
sense of it.
How about I just read the first paragraph?
Okay.
That way we get the gist. So it says, on behalf of Swarthmore Borough Council, we write to you regarding a solution to simplify the voting registration process for our residents living on campus at Swarthmore College. We respectfully request that the Election Bureau allow such students to register at their mailing address, 500 College Avenue, rather than their dormitory location. And then it goes on to say, of the registration process being confusing, and that they always use that address for legal purposes, and then how we went over the numbers and changing, if they all registered at 500 College Avenue, they would all be voting at the same location, and we looked at the numbers as to what that would mean for the location, and it wouldn't cause too great of a burden at the northern precinct, which would be affected. And that's about it. So
I'm just curious how many students we're talking about.
yeah, so I have some numbers here. It's hard to get the exact figure, but there's about a little under a quarter of the beds for student housing are in the western precinct. So it's a quarter of that, which is about 353 beds, but they're not always occupied. And so, and they're not all, I actually have information on that too. They're not all registered here. Matter of fact, in 2016, the voting numbers were about 629 students voted total. in the presidential election in 2016, which is the highest actual, turnout usually is presidential elections. And of those people, 53% of them voted in person on election day here. So that's already, 340 people voted in person here. So if you take 22% of that, it's about 75 people who voted at the Western precinct. So, maybe with this being less confusing to register, there might be more people voting. However, that's kind of too speculative to say. But that's, if you really had to be rough guess, using the sample sizes and all that. Thank you. Right.
Sarah, do you want to, or does someone else want to move that?
Should I make a
Sure.
motion?
Mm-hmm.
Make a motion to send this letter, to approve this letter? Jen?
To approve the text of the letter to be sent by Borough Council.
That's what I did.
And is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Please speak up, Betsy, we can't hear you. Any further discussion of the letter?
I have one comment I'd like to make. I support it for two reasons. Number one, my understanding is that 500 College Avenue is actually the student's correct legal address. That's where they get their legal stuff. So I think this is really more about correcting something to the correct legal address for people, which we should be willing to do for anybody. And then secondly, I would say that I think college students are different than people who, let's say, rent an apartment or something, because the college tells them where they're going to live, what dorm they're going to live in from year to year. So they have they're in a strange institutional position of not having that much control over where their bed is versus what their legal address is. The legal address seems to be the appropriate place for it to be. So that's the reason for my support.
Any further discussion or comments? If none, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Sarah, for that.
And I don't think we're meeting, the general government committee is meeting next week, so that's it.
Great, thanks. Betsy, Planning and Zoning.
Planning and Zoning did not meet in May because we attended Corpus instead at Nether Providence Borough's meeting. And I'm sure that was discussed last week.
And we adopted the resolution earlier this evening. Yeah, so.
Yep. So, and I don't think we're going to meet this month.
I actually may be away, so that would be good for me.
Good. It looks like the zoning
Planning,
stuff
yeah.
that's coming up is pretty straightforward, and I'm hoping that planning, is solid. The Planning Commission will be meeting on June 20th, which should be an interesting meeting if anyone wants to attend, but hopefully we'll be able to take some action on that next month, so. That's it.
Yeah, are people interested, the Planning Commission is going to be looking at an ordinance on, what do you call it, family caregiver suites. An idea to add a little bit of extra housing option, very much confined to the existing home, no new utilities, no new entrance. So it's sort of like an in-law suite, but with some pretty, very actually strict constraints. I can send it out if people are interested. I think it's kind of exciting and certainly addresses some of the aging in place requests, hopefully balanced with some of the concerns about increased density. I'll send it out and people can see and maybe go. I unfortunately am going to be at a meeting, so I'm going to miss that meeting as well.
Great. Thank you, Jane. Betsy? Public safety, Erin.
Thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to look at resolution number 2018-5? It's a resolution authorizing the disposition of a Borough of Swarthmore police vehicle. It's a 2014 Dodge Charger. Has everybody looked at that? Okay. So I would like to make a motion to pass this resolution authorizing disposition of a Borough Swarthmore police vehicle. It's a 2014 Dodge Charger. And it's authorizing the borough to convey and transfer the vehicle to Eugene Bushmalov for the price of $5,211. Do I have a second?
Who wants to be? Okay.
Lauren, okay.
Any discussion? There being none, let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution number 2018-05 is adopted.
And we did not meet last month because of Election Day, but we will be meeting this month, and that is next Tuesday night, June 19th at 7:30 p.m. in this room. And I just want to reiterate again that all meetings are public meetings, and the public is always welcome to come to every Borough Council meeting and every committee meeting. We look forward to seeing you. That's it.
Thank you, Mary. Ross, Public Works.
Okay, so we will be meeting this month on Thursday, June 28th at 8:30 in the morning here, and everybody's welcome to come to that. We will have further discussion of a possible ordinance on sewer laterals. We will have discussion on a possible policy regarding alterations to public spaces. There have been a couple of things that have come up in the past couple of weeks where various residents have wanted to put things in parks and things. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. There have been a couple of residents who've come in and want to do things with parks and things, so it's timely we're considering this policy. And then, so that'll be going forward on the 28th. The business tonight, we need to talk about the award of bids for the paving program for this year. Jane has circulated the materials on that. The bids just came in. And so, we considered this at our last Public Works meeting. We looked at the information, both from Cuzzy and his crew, looking at the roads that need to be done, and from the new smart page system the Pannoni engineers implemented, where they actually kind of Googlish went out and analyzed every road in the borough and computer algorithm analyzed it for quality. And we combined the actual eyes with the computer eyes, and Jane and Cuzzy and crew came up, and the engineers came up with a list of recommendations. The background context is that there was a point where we spent as little as $35,000 a year on the roads, and they were getting worse and worse, and over the years the goal was to improve our roads to the point where they would be on what's called a 25-year cycle, so that you get them up to a point where you only have to do them every 25 years. So that's the main goal. Last year, I forget what we spent last year, was it like $107,000 or something?
That was the budget. I think we went over budget by about $25,000.
Yes, and we've been getting some efficiencies because we go out with the other municipalities and we do a joint bid process, so that is good for us. So the committee agreed to recommend that we spend approximately $183,000. We came up with a base list of roads that really had to be done. If the bid came in below 183, we would add a couple of others on to come up to the 183. So the bids have come in. There were 6 bidders. The low bid was $192,513. And then the bids went up as high as $248,784. The low bidder is a company that did our stuff last year that we found very good, and that is a company that we would want to use. So it's great that the low bid is the company that did a great job for us last year. So we're comfortable with them doing it. We're obligated under law to give it to the low bidder. The amount is slightly higher than the 183,000 we were going to recommend. It's the 192,513. So we have the committee members here. I'm just going to suggest that probably our committee would say, we got to fix the roads, let's do that. And we can open that up for discussion with the committee members of the council. And then the second question we would have to address is, from which budget bucket are we going to take that money? Because we could take it from the current open reserve balance, or we could take it from the capital reserve fund.
And you don't actually have to make that decision tonight. That's something the finance committee could
That would be
discuss.
better.
Right, it's just
Better finance.
definitely wanting the minutes that, an acknowledgement that it's over the budget amount of 107, and something else will have to be taxed.
So we'll limit it to the discussion of spending the 192,513. And I'll just put it to the group. If you want to have any questions, want to discuss it, to the committee members.
Just say, I know we all read it, but what's the name of the company again?
It's Joseph E. Sucher, S-U-C-H-E-R.
I have one question. Just, I'm looking at the Pannoni letter recommending that Swarthmore Borough, that's Swarthmore Borough's engineer recommending the borough award the contract to the low bidder, Joseph E. Sucher and Sons. There's some language in the first paragraph about an alternate bid of $54,541.60.
That's the additional amount. That's the amount that if the bid came in below the amount we
Got it.
wanted to spend, and we had some extra money,
Got it.
then we would take those roads
Okay.
and allocate
Okay.
up to the amount.
Up to the amount.
Or alternately, you could decide to spend 192 plus 54.
Yes.
If you
We could do
chose to go that much more over budget. It gave you the flexibility to not go so far over budget. But as Ross said, if for some reason it had come in significantly below, you would want to have that there. So
Okay.
it's still a possibility if you want to do that.
Yes.
You do have to make that decision now. I don't think you can award that later. Can you?
Well, you're picking your contractor now. You can kind of decide on the scope of work based on. Yeah, you don't have to decide that tonight. I mean, are there other factors that come into the
Well,
decision?
PennDOT,
It's coming
yeah.
over budget, so it sounds like there's not a whole lot of work to it. But I mean, I don't think.
So tonight we're picking the contract.
Right.
Yeah,
But Jane, you'd like to have the number locked in.
I think that PennDOT has regulations, all the documents get written up after it's awarded at a certain amount, and PennDOT only allows us to go over. It's a fairly new regulation of like 10%. So I think if you are in any reason want to do the higher amount and add all that, you probably would want to do it now.
So we could authorize the higher amount and go down, but we couldn't go up, is what you're saying?
That's what I understand Jane to be saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what I meant to say. I think what I meant to say is you actually can't have a 10% variance either way.
I'm not going to recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's a moot point.
and the idea being, just so it doesn't seem arbitrary, PennDOT doesn't want you to pick a contractor and then change the rules that maybe would have had to award it to somebody else later. So that's why they kind of want you to pick what you're going to award and stick to it.
They do base their bids based on the estimated volume
Right.
you specs, so you should not.
Okay. So it sounds like we're going to be hearing a motion with respect to the $192,000 amount, I believe.
Yes, I move that we award to Joseph Sucher for the $192,513, which is the base amount on that bid, that we not do the additional added amount, the 54 or whatever it is, and that we go ahead with those repairs.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I guess I'm just curious, the down, I mean, you don't want to consider doing the additional work because of the budget? I guess I'm just wondering how urgently they thought the additional work needed to be done.
I think previously we circulated the road plan for 2018, which had the color graph and everything, you know, there was the red on the top, which is like, we got to do this, okay? There was the yellow, and there were the gradations of color. So I think our committee was comfortable that at this, we said 183, but it's come in at 192. I think we were comfortable that that's the work that should be done, and that's the level we're ready to go to. We're going to be doing it again next year and the year after. If you want to open that discussion about us going to, you know, the silver, platinum, triple, third warranty level, we could do that. This is more the, you know, what we kind of felt was like reasonable to do. It's more than, significantly more than we've done in past years. Did that answer your question?
So you're hitting the red areas?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than the red areas, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion
Before a vote.
before a vote?
After.
If there's no further discussion, let's have a vote. All in favor of awarding the contract to Joseph E. Sucre and Sons, Inc. of Eddystone, Pennsylvania, for $192,513.95, say aye. Aye. All opposed? So approved. The contract will be awarded to Joseph Sucre and Sons.
And I do want to note that there's paving on Yale Avenue sufficient around the proposed speed cushions, which will also be installed. I did speak with, I left a message actually for Michael Harrar, and also spoke with John Lubecker about what their concerns were about the positioning of those. I actually didn't hear back from Michael, but the engineer is perfectly willing to listen to their concerns and see if there should be any changes. We can't widen the speed pillows because of the promise to the emergency responders that they'd be able to straddle over them. But given that, there is probably some flexibility on where they can go in the roadway, so we'll do that.
Great, thank you, Jane.
One last item.
Yes.
So at the committee's May 24 meeting, our last meeting, one thing we dealt with, but I didn't mention last week, is that the recent pedestrian improvements, that contract for the crosswalks and all that sort of stuff, that had an allocation in it for a certain number of sharrows, SHARROWS, which are lines indicating road space shared by cars and bikes to be painted. And that's part of that contract. So that was already authorized, and the committee met and reviewed. There was an existing map on the borough website about various markings. In previous years, there had been markings. The borough had received comments that they thought some of the markings were in places where they didn't need to be. We went through the list, and the committee decided to paint Rutgers from Michigan all the way up to SRS, which provides kind of like a pathway through the middle of town. And also paint Widener Way over to the swim club. And then we said we wanted to do Yale, but because of road resurfacing and construction on Yale, that has to wait. We can't do that yet, and then have to chew it up. So that's in the works. So that's next.
Thank you, Ross. Mayor Tim Carney.
Thank you, David. I think in light of the conversation about pedestrian crossings and everything else, I would remind everybody that summertime is coming. It's not quite here yet, but it's close. And that there's going to be a lot more people out, and people should be careful when they're driving. And the crosswalks are crosswalks, and I, once again, as I do every year, remind everybody that Pennsylvania law, you need to stop when there's somebody in a crosswalk, whether the lights are on or not. The other thing I'll say is that, again, because summertime is coming, the town's Thursday Night Live is starting up this Thursday. There's every other week live music in the amphitheater right out here by the library. this week. I know that Bill from Hobbs will be grilling hamburgers, and Wrong Crowd Brewery will have their beer available, and there may be ukulele music, but and that's all I have.
Thank you, Tim. Jane?
David President David, oh, we only have one David now, damn, so used to the multiple Davids. Mentioned at the last council meeting, it's actually in the minutes, that the county was making those small additional allocations for pothole repair, and they actually wanted it in the form of a formal motion and resolution so that we can submit for county aid. So I think everyone's ratifying the announcement and action at the, when was that? That was at the last council meeting?
Yes.
Yes. That Borough Council would like to apply for that money, would be basically what you're asking for. So if somebody could make that
So
motion. I can't remember the amount, I'll look at that from.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thanks. On the manager's report, you'll see that we've talked a lot about the meeting with DNL to remove, this is the meetings attended. We did have the final walkthrough on the pedestrian and bicycle accessibility project. That's where the issue of the sheriffs came up. And on May 30th, we had a conference call. DEP is issuing some grant money through the VW settlement, where they kind of cheated a little bit on their diesel emissions. And they distributed funding to all of the states. And somehow or other, PICO has been in on it with DEP. I didn't quite understand how that happened. But it looks like there might be some money available for diesel trucks. And we actually already have an application out for a diesel truck. I don't think we've got too much interest yet in a diesel police car, but we'll keep an eye on that money and see if there's anything the borough can apply for. It's actually great that people got the message out because DEP's been a little slow. A few days later, we got a press release on it. So that's something that we hope will be competitive and can get some funding. If not for this truck, then maybe the next one. We only buy diesel trucks now. We never. These have to be high efficiency diesel. I don't know if there's a difference between diesel and high efficiency diesel. We'll find out. And I think that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Bob?
Thank you, I don't have anything tonight.
Any other business any member of council wishes to bring before us? If not, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Adjourn.